Hey, what's going on, guys? Want to make a video talking about in terms of what kind of discovery have I made in terms of trading stocks, Forex, um, and what are the discoveries I've made in terms of how you can utilize it for yourself and try to gain money out in the market every single day. So let's get to it. So first off, let's look at something like, say, Euro US dollar, right? So what we want to take a look at on the US dollar is we're going to trade, we're going to analyze it based on price action, right? Number one discovery. Just put it on here, right? So drawings. So I'm using Think or Swim platform right now. I'm going to show you how to use this. So if you go to drawings, there's a whole bunch of tools you can use, right? Uh, right. So number one discovery is when you look at it in terms of charts, right? You want to analyze, is the stock going up or is the stock going down? One way to really good way to analyze it is by looking at if it's on an uptrend. You want to be looking at something which has higher high and higher lows, right? Let me explain. When you talk about higher high, higher lows, right? So we're looking at this 30-minute time frame, right? I mean, it's easy to the eye to look at, hey, you know what? When you take a look at this chart, one of the easiest way to look at it if the stock is going up or down is draw a straight single line through the price, right? If the stock is trending up, then chances are the line you will have is going to go up, right? If the stock is trending down, then you will have a downside, right? So on the longer time frame, you have a stronger up move. And now in terms of finding higher highs and higher lows, right? Now, let's do this. So in terms of higher highs, higher lows, you want to look at where's the swing high, right? So if you look at this market structure, right? Let me just try to use trend lines. So let's remove this trend line. So if you wanted to look at the market structure, right? Where's the higher high, higher lows? So I mean, you see, this is one move, right? And the next move that you see on here is, sorry about that. This is the next move, right? And the next move that you see on here is this move, right? So this is the higher high that you have. I'm not sure why is this showing up like this. Edit properties. Let me make the width 5. Okay, so this is the first high, and then this is your next move, right? And just do this edit properties with 5, save as default. Okay, right? So this is your first move. The stock comes back up, right? Now this is your low, right? Now this is again your next move, which is another swing high. And if you do another trade, this is your other, right? So now you're finding your, if you want to see where's the uptrend, this is one really easy way to do it, right? This is your first swing, and then you have this retrace, you have another swing, then you have a retrace, and then you have, right? So if you connect all these lows, right? So you're seeing all these 3 lows over here. You can just simply connect, sorry about that. Right. If you just connect all these 3 lows, and you'll see, hey, you know what? This stock is actually in an uptrend, right? So, so a couple of ways you can do it. Number one is either just draw a simple trend line across left to right, and you will know where the price is. Number two is you can quickly analyze it based on swing high, swing low, right? That's one way to do it, right? And number 3 is you can just connect, once you, in terms for you to identify whether it's really a higher low is, you just connect the 3 points, connect the higher lows, and you will know that, hey, you know what, this is the actually the uptrend, right? So that's one way to actually look at downtrends. Okay, so that's that. Now, in terms of understanding, where exactly do you want to get? The other concept that I understood based on trading is in terms of finding support and resistance, right? Let me just remove all of this stuff. So we understood what is uptrend, right? The reverse can be a downtrend. Let's remove all of this stuff. Right, so this is applicable. So right now you're looking at Euro USD. So let's say if you want to analyze something like, say, a stock, right? Now you're looking at Facebook, right? So if you're looking at this market structure, I mean, if you take a look on this one, you try to draw a line across the board, right? This is not really an uptrend, right? If you see, this is pretty much a sideways pattern. It goes through, comes back, goes through, comes back, right? So this is not an uptrend that is intact, right? But if you look at on the, say, on the higher time frame, say a 3-year weekly, right? But if you look at the higher time frame, now you will see that, hey, you know what? This stock is actually in an uptrend. Now, why do I know that? Number one, if you just draw a simple line across it, right? That's one way to look at it, right? So you see an uptrend. And then the other way we discuss it in terms of trying to find higher high, higher lows. So if you're trying to find, just do, right, higher highs, you get all these swings over here, right? Right, so higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. And the third way to do it is simply draw a line across the lows. And you will see that, hey, you know what? This is an uptrend, right? So I hope you guys like this idea, right? A couple of ways to find out whether the stock is an uptrend or downtrend. I showed you on the Euro US dollar. Now this is on the on the stock Facebook, right? Let's now talk a bit about in terms of, so the first thing that we talked about is in terms of the uptrends. Second thing I want to, or even downtrends, going to work the same way as well, right? Say we want to analyze Bitcoin. Let's see if it has Bitcoin. Bitcoin trade index, right? So let's say we do something like 5-year daily, right? Now, let's analyze this Bitcoin, right? I mean, it hasn't been around for a while, but it's really an easy way to analyze it. So you want to, once again, take a look at it in terms of what's going on with this Bitcoin name, right? Higher high, first swing, next swing, and then you have this ultimate swing, right? In terms of the downside, so that's the uptrend, right? Now, if you want to analyze the downtrend, right? So let's say you want to do something like, right? So you go, actually, this is gonna go all the way here, right? So now you're seeing this is actually in a downtrend, right? Right now, it hasn't have another lower low, so it means price is kind of stabilizing over here, right? So this is, as I mentioned, one way to do it is just draw a simple line across the board, and you will know it's a downtrend. The other way you can try to analyze it is by using the swing high, swing low concept, where if it's on a downtrend, is lower highs, right? It's lower highs, and you have lower lows, right? That's really very easy to do it. Or you can just connect the, using a lower highs. If you connect it, you will find that's on a downtrend, right? So I've shown you across, whether it's in terms of cryptocurrencies, whether it's in terms of dollars, in terms of Forex, in terms of stocks. This concept is going to be applicable in terms of pretty much anything where you have a charting pattern and where you have something where there's price action that you can chart on the charts, right? Now let's look at in terms of, hey, you know what? I want to see something in terms of the other thing I want to talk about is in terms of support resistance levels, right? So this is simple support resistance I want to take a look at. So let's say I want to take a look at, say, SPX, right? The S&P 500 index, and I want to say, hey, you know what? Where's the point where I actually want to go and try to find support and resistance, right? So keep in mind, resistance is a place where something is going to hit towards it, but at the end is going to get rejected, right? So it means there is a lot more. For example, in this spot, my apologies, right? All right. So for example, in this spot, right?
there is always a price rejection. Whenever price hits here, it comes back up. Price hits here, it comes back down, right? So that's called a resistance, right? On the flip side, there's also something called as support, right? Which means there are people that are willing to buy. So if you see when the price comes around to 2600, you always see price getting bought back up, right? You see all this, you just cannot break this 2600 on the bigger time frame, right? Every time it comes back, it goes back up, comes back, it goes back up, right? So there is a lot of demand in this region, right, on this $2,600 level. So for somebody to be really bearish in the market, this S&P 500 has to really break this level, right? So that's support and resistance, right? Now, in terms of how are we going to trade the support resistance, right? We always want to find in terms of, is there any chart pattern or any candlestick pattern that we can trade off to try to determine, hey, that we see there's support, that's okay, but can we find a spot for us to get in, right? So if you take a look on this chart, right? Let's look on this chart. So looking at this chart again, right? I mean, if we see that, hey, you know what? Even before this, let's say if you are looking at here, and you're like, hey man, where's the support, right? So always remember, in terms of support resistance, once it breaks through resistance, it actually has to act as support, and once it breaks through support, it needs to act as resistance. Here's what I mean, right? So over here you will see, you know what, before, multiple times, right? I mean, this level is, I mean, whenever it hit 2600, it comes back up, and then it had some kind of consolidation and actually broke through. Once it broke through, it actually had this nice 200-point run, right? So this resistance actually became support. Now, how do I know this 2600 makes sense? Is recently, I mean, in January and now, even now, you see this price, which was resistance, right? It was resistance over here, now is acting as support. Now, when we know that this is a support region, now we understanding is how to really trade this particular region, right? So one way to really trade it is using something called as a pin bar, right? This is a pin bar. Now keep in mind, these pin bars are so-called doji or hammers. These are going to work really well when you are actually using support resistance and use the candlestick as a means to find your entries. So here's what I mean. Having looked at the past that you saw this $2,600 is a price resistance. Now if it's a support, right? Let's say if it's a support, you want to see price go through it, which means everybody who's trying to short it through 2600, and if it closes back above $2,600, it means that, hey, you know what? People are getting trapped. Everybody who was sitting over here trying to short this market underneath, everybody down here got trapped. And now when the stock breaks through the high of this one, you just see this nice springing action, right? So once again, if you see on here, I mean, the price never closed over 2600, so you never saw really a springing action. But if you see this one, right, this one is an interesting candle as well. Once you see this price going through 2600 and quickly price retracing, once it goes over that level, you will see a nice bounce, right? Let me show you something kind of on the reverse, right? So let's say if you want to go, say 10-day, 30 minutes, right? So looking at the same SPX, we want to look at 20-day, 30 minutes, right? So when you talk about in terms of support resistance, right? Support resistance is always going to be in terms of where the price has become, if it has broken support, it's going to become resistance in the future, or if it becomes resistance, it's going to become support in the future, right? Because that's where it really is. Now, if we take a look at in terms of, say, hey, you know what, I want to trade this name SPX. Now, in terms of where is going to be the support resistance. So if you take a look on this part, right? This region has been support, right? Every time the price comes, it bounces, it comes, it bounces, it comes, it bounces, right? So now we know that this is a region of support. Now, the only way we can justify really is, hey, you know, if the price is coming down to support, what's going to happen if one price breaks through, right? So if you see this support being held multiple times, when it breaks through, which means it has gone through our support, right? Now the only thing for it to justify is in terms of the support turning into resistance, right? So when this price actually came back, now if you analyze this particular region, right, you see the price falling through support, and now the price retraces back into this region. And once again, if this is a region of interest, we see the price piercing through this region, and then we see this this pin bar action over here, right? So once again, this is a reverse hammer. The price tries to goes up, but sellers actually push it down, and what happens? It actually pushes way all the way through down again, right? So now this is a region of support, right? So every time it comes here, it hits, it comes here, it hits and goes, right? So once you have determined, let me move this, right? So step number one, we have figured out that this is a region of, right? So step number one, we figured out this is a region of support by looking at the price being held multiple times. What we also did is when we extended it, we tried to figure out that, hey, you know what? When the price actually came back over here, we saw price resistance, right? Price resistance, right? So we might not know this one, but this one was a good one. When it came back, it acted resistance and had this big flush. Now, after it had this big flush, right? So let's say we're looking at this region, right? We saw that, hey, you know what? It came back, it has this. Now we know this is actually a price support region, right? Because I mean, the price initially, there was people who want to buy it down here near the $2,700 level, came back down again, 27, 26.9, 2700, there's a region of support. So now we know that, hey, you know what, 2700 is actually a place where people are willing to buy. Now, how do we use this to our advantage, right? So this is what we saw over here before, right? We saw multiple buying. Now we want to see, hey, you know what, once we understand this concept of support, we want to extend it, right? So we saw it over here, right? When we were over here, you knew this was acting as a price, let's see, right? We know this was price support turning resistance, and now it became price support. And now the only way for us to really enter is once we know there's a price support, where should be our entry be, right? So our entry really is when it tries to go down. Once again, you see this pin bar action. You go long over this, and you get this nice upside move, right? So those are the couple of things, right? In terms of number one is in terms of, let me just jot it down back again. So let me just recap of what we talked about it today. So number one is in terms of uptrends, right? A couple of ways to do it is draw a line from left to right. That's the easiest way to do it. Number two is, in terms of defining uptrend, is you're trying to find higher highs, higher lows. The third way to do it is to define uptrend is we connect the higher lows. If you can connect higher lows, it means you can definitely go and say that this is an uptrend, right? The other thing that we talked about today is in terms of support and resistance, right? So support is where people are willing to buy, right? So we discuss the opportunities where people are willing to buy. Second is the support needs to act like a resistance in the future, right? So we already discussed about this part where the price has to act as a resistance in the future. So we discussed on here. Right? This is prices. This was support, now turns resistance, right? So two really important concepts if you're looking to trade, start off trading, whether it's stocks or Forex or any other investments, Bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, whatsoever. Try to understand these two really simple concepts, uptrend, downtrend, support, and resistance, and use it to be profitable. Hopefully you guys like the video. Please do like and subscribe. Keeps me happy. And it's going to help me make more videos for you guys.